we are still at Jenkins. This time, we want to look at the declarative pipeline. Okay, so how is declarative pipeline different from the scripted pipeline? Let's dive in and let's take a look as we start with writing a declarative pipeline. Okay, let's call this pipeline we want to work on, let's call it DP, declarative pipeline. Okay, DP, and we want to select pipeline here. Okay, so let's go to, let's say, discard old builds. Okay, this is an optional field. Okay, so this has nothing to do with the pipeline proper. Okay, now we might want to say, yeah, now this is where we are concerned about, pipeline. Okay, now, if you remember, during our session on scripted pipeline, we realized that to start a pipeline, we must specify node, right? Node, right? Then we do this, right? That is under scripted pipeline. But for declarative pipeline, let's declare pipeline. Okay, so it starts with pipeline. So this is a key difference, right, between declarative and scripted pipeline. The declarative pipeline starts with pipeline. Now, there are other important features that we can also look at. So what are the things we should look at? For example, here we can specify either we say, if we do not have particular agents we want labeled to do a particular task, right? We should start by saying agents, then any, right? If we do not have a particular agent in mind. Otherwise, we'll need to state this agent, right? Because we have one in mind, okay? Agent, and we'll go ahead and specify an agent for that purpose. Let's say we want label, we can say label, right? Because we want a particular agent, right? We can specify agent and say, let's say dev-stage. That's the name of an agent, right? That I have here, right? So dev, or alternatively, depending on what you have, it could be agent one, right? That you want to do the job, or you could specify production, depending on what you have. Okay, so but for this purpose, for the purpose of this task we are undertaking, I'm not specifying any agent, right? I just want any available one because my agents are not up, right? So I can't specify a particular agent. Otherwise, the pipeline will keep stuck waiting for the agent to come online. So I do not want that. So I just want to say agent, and I say any, okay? Now, after this, what do we need to do? So you might want to say stages, right? So this part is very important. Remember, when we were dealing with the scripted pipeline, we started specifying the stages, right? One after the other, and specifying what we wanted, right? Clone, right? If you remember, this is what we did. And we did this. We opened the curly bracket and closed it. But this time around, we are not going to do that. What we are going to do is to say stages, right? Then we open the curly bracket and close it. Okay. Now, if I want to say, okay, we want to send messages, we want to say posts, right? We open the curly brackets and we close it, right? I want to keep it as simple as possible, right? Once we understand it, we can make it complicated, right? Like try adding things, right? Which we are going to do after the initial explanation. So let's say we want to keep it as simple as this. Now, stages, we are looking at coming in here and putting some things, right? Some things we are already familiar with when we're doing the scripted pipeline, right? So we have stages. Now we want to specify each of the stages, right? We want to say stage, right? Stage what? Code. We want to put in a quotation mark and say clone from GitHub. Sure, we are familiar with this from our work on scripted pipeline. Clone from GitHub, right? We want to go a step further and do this. Okay. Clone from GitHub. We want to say our next step, stage. Our next stage is what? We want to do the build. Okay. Build. Okay. Want to do the build. Want to do the build. Okay. Want to do the build. I want to close that. Okay. Okay, want to do the build. Okay. So what else? After build, we want to do the code quality analysis, right? Open the brackets. Code quality analysis. Okay. They want to open and close the curly bracket. Okay. Okay. Open and close. Okay. We want to go to the next stage, right? Which is deploy. Want to deploy to Nexus. Backup artifacts. That's the backup artifacts. Backup artifacts. Okay. Want to open and close. Okay. So the next stage, we want to seek authorization. I want to seek authorization. Authorization. Okay. Then finally, with this stage, we want to deploy, right? We want to deploy. Okay. Before we go there, I missed something there. Open the curly brackets and close it. Okay. So right now, I want to deploy to app server, right? We should return cards. Now we want to open and close the curly brackets. Okay. So this is fine. So now here, right, we've looked at all the stages, right? So let's go to, okay, let's finish up with this before we proceed to the next step, to the next stage. So now what we'll do is this. Another difference between the declarative pipeline and the scripted pipeline is that within the stages of the declarative pipeline, we could have steps. We will have steps, right? So we need to specify steps. Steps, right? Steps. And we'll open the curly bracket. We'll open the curly bracket and close it, right? So there will be steps all the way, right? Come here to the build. We'll come here, enter, I'll put steps, okay? Steps. Put the steps all the way. Put steps all the way. So this is another important difference between the declarative and the scripted, okay? So we go in here, enter, then put steps all the way across the stages, okay? Come in here, enter, put steps all the way, okay? Authorization, enter, put steps, okay? Open and close curly brackets. Then here, we come here, put steps, enter, put steps, open the curly brackets and close it. So now we've done this with all the steps, all the stages, right? Each of the stages now are steps built in, okay? Now to the business of the day. So we now go to each of these steps, right? We can go in here and now specify what needs to be done, okay? Now, if we want to clone, what do? We need to go to pipeline syntax, right? Because I'm going to be working with a private repository. So it will not be sufficient for me to just say git clone and bring in the URL, right? I need to generate a syntax, right? And to generate a syntax for that, similar to what we did when we were going through the scripted pipeline, we want to come here and select checkout, okay, from version control. So it says Git. I want to copy this private repository, okay? So I copy that, I put in here. So it will prompt me for authentication, okay? Then I'll select this. That's the authentication for GitHub, okay? So now that I have this, I do not have master setup, I have main. So I can either write main, okay, or I want to leave it blank, okay? So let's confirm that, you see. Only one branch and the branch name is main, okay? So let's come back here, okay? So we want to leave that blank and let's generate pipeline, okay? So I want to copy this. I've copied that. I want to paste that in here, okay? So within the steps, okay? So it is possible that I want to put in another step after that, and I want to say, okay, and I want to say enter, right? And I want to say, I want to generate a line. I can say SH, but let's make it as straightforward as possible. I want to come here to generate another line, right? And I want to say, I want to use the shell script. Shell, I want to type in something, right? And say sh, shell script, right? So what will I type on my command line? So that's what this means. What will I type on my command line? Shell scripts. On my command line, I want to say echo, let's say, private repository. I'll say private repository was used to generate, right? Private repository was used, hence, okay, hence the need for authentication. Okay, can just say that, okay? Hence the need for authentication, right? So I want to generate a pipeline script. So this is what it says we should put, okay? So I copy that. I want to paste that here, okay? So I just want to ensure that we have more than one step, right? But either way, it would have still worked, right? Even if we don't add this. Okay, so I want to go to the next stage, right? Which is the build. So how do we do the build? We want to, because we are using Maven, right? To build, we want to use mvn install, right? So, but I also want to do mvn clean. Okay, so what do I need to do? I need to go back to my shell script, right? I want to go back to my shell script. I come to my shell script, I go to this place, right? I say, I want to enter mvn clean. So let's see what is generated. Tells us this, I copy, right? So I copy and I paste, okay? So that's a step. I want to go to the next step, right? I know the next step will be mvn, right? mvn install, okay? Right? Because that is what will be generated over there for us if you go there, okay? So I have two steps there. So we can go to code quality analysis, right? We want to use SonarQube for that. So go in between the steps. I want to paste this. I want to do a clean first, right? Before doing mvn sonar column sonar, okay? So mvn sonar column sonar. So I want to back up my artifacts, right? To back up the artifacts, I need to use mvn deploy, right? So I come in here, in between the steps, okay? So I find my way within the steps. I want to say, I want to paste this. I want to do a clean first. Then I want to do mvn deploy, okay? Deploy. Okay, now, regarding authorization, okay, let's open the steps, okay? So we want to paste whatever we get in between the steps. So to get authorization, we want to come here, okay? We want to come here and say authorization one is what we want. So it's going to be timed, right? So we are looking for timeout, okay? So we select timeout to enforce time limit. We want to set a time limit, let's say 48 hours. We're expecting approval within 48 hours, okay? We want to say generate pipeline script. So this is what was generated. So I want to paste this within the steps. So with Declarative Pipeline, you have steps within each of the stages, right? And you have stage, right? You have stages within the big stage, within the big stages, okay? So there'll be several stages within the big umbrella stages, okay? So we'll take a look at that as we proceed, okay? So we want to copy that and paste within here, within steps. So pasted that within steps, okay? So we want to align. So I place my cursor here. I want to align and make sure I don't delete anything. Enter. I come here as well. I go back. I don't delete anything. Click enter. So I see everything is well aligned. So because I want a message, right, for the timeout, we have set 48 hours, right? We are given 48 hours to seek approval, okay? So we want to impute a message, impute message, okay? Impute message, okay? We want to impute a message. We want to say, hey guy, approve or decline. Approve or decline, okay? Approve or decline. I want to leave this message, approve or decline. Then that's that on that. So what next? So we want to deploy to app server. So what app server do we want to deploy to? So let's deploy to Tomcat, okay? So we've gone in between the steps, okay? So what step do you want to put here? We want to say, let's go to pipeline syntax and look at our options, right? Okay, so I see, let's see, deploy to, okay, deploy to where/here, deploy where/here to a container, okay? So once say whatever is in targets, right? Slash that ends in .wa, okay? So for the purpose of this project is DP, right? The purpose of this project, we want it named DP, then we want to choose a container. Our Tomcat is Tomcat 9 point something, okay? So we select that. So we need to authenticate. So using the deployer, right? I'm authenticating, okay? So that's the manager script role that was set up in the Tomcat-users.xml, right? Within the conf subdirectory of Tomcat 9, okay? So that's what we have. So what's our Tomcat URL? Let me copy this. Tomcat URL, to copy that. So once I copy that, I want to paste it here. That's the Tomcat URL. So I could, to limit modification in case I log out, right? In case I shut down the server. So I want to be sure my IP address, I don't have to come and modify it here. So I can put my private IP address here instead of the public. Okay, so I want to generate pipeline scripts, okay? So this is what I have from generating the pipeline scripts. There's Tomcat, all the information required for deployment, right? Also what I want it called and everything I need has been formulated for me. So I want to come here and paste this here, okay? So once I paste that, I believe I'm done with all the stages, right? So as I was saying earlier, we have pipeline always starts a declarative pipeline. Agent any, right? If we have specific agents, we can do the way I showed earlier, okay? So stages, we want to bring that first. Then we specify each stage, right? Each stage. Then within each of the stages, there are steps, right? So we can see the steps. So each of the steps will find itself in the stage, okay? So we've done for all the stages. Now, what else do we want to do, right? We want to post messages, right? We want to post messages to these guys, right? If there's a success, if there's a successful build, we want to send a message. If there's a failed build, we want to send a message, right? So let's see how we can personalize this, okay? So we'll come here under posts, right? You don't need steps here, right? So under posts, you don't need steps. So you want to say, okay, in case of success, what should be the message, okay? Open curly bracket and close it, enter. In case of failure, right? What should be the message? We'll open curly brackets and we'll close it, okay? So now, how do we generate our message, okay? So I've set up my email address on here, right? I believe we've done a session on that previously, how to set up emails. So what I want to do here now, I want to come here and select email, extended email, okay? So that's what I want to use. So who do I want to send these messages to? I want to send it to developers, okay? Developers at techdom, okay? Oh, developers at techdom.ca, okay? Now I want to go ahead and say subject, okay? This is in case of success. What should I tell them, right? In case of success, I want to say something like, hooray, this deployment is successful, okay? Hooray, this deployment is successful, okay? I want to go to the body of the message. I want to go to the body of the message and say something like, cheers, guys. What an amazing job you've done. What an amazing job you've done, right? What an amazing job you've done. I'll say something like this, okay? Cheers, guys. What an amazing job you've done, okay? I want to, let's see, reply to, not necessary. Okay, so I want to generate pipeline scripts, okay? So I copy this, right? I go here, right? Success, that's for success, right? I want to enter and paste, okay? So that's for success. So what happens if there's a failure, right? I want to come here and say something like, let's go back to let's come back here, okay? Just a minute, please. Okay, let's come back here. Let's say, we can say something like urgent, right? Failed deployment, right? Then for the message, I want to say something like, let's say something like, unfortunately, guys, I want to say you will need to clock in what time to make this a success. A success, to make this a success, as you always do. Success. As you always do. Okay. Something this simple, right? But unfortunately, guys, okay. Okay, so something like this. Unfortunately, guys, you need to clock in more time to make this a success, as you always do. So it's important they're able to reply. So let them reply. Alerts at techdom.ca. Okay, so they should be able to reply. This is an urgent situation. Okay, so we want to generate pipeline scripts. So I'll copy this. All right, I'll copy that, and what do I want to do there? To paste it here, right? For failure, that's the message we want sent. So I believe we've done everything we should. Let us, at this point, apply and save, and let us try to do our first build. Okay, let's try to do our first build. Want to build now. Okay, see, code quality analysis. Okay, now that we have done this, I need to make some disclosure, okay? When I installed Jenkins, what I did was to go to the command line and use sudo yum install to install both Git and Maven, okay? So I'm able to go to my command line as it is, right? Look at this. What's happening? Tomcat is sleeping, okay. I'm able to go to my command line and on Jenkins and say MVN clean, right? For example, I see something like this, which shows me that, oh, there's Maven installed on this system, right? But for some people that have installed Maven using the GUI on Jenkins, they will not be able to achieve this. Does that mean that they do not have Maven on the system, on their system? No, they have Maven, but it's not just where mine is, right? Because I use the command line to install, right? So it was right there, okay? So now what happens in the case where you have not done exactly what I did? Will you not be able to use this to work? No, that's not true. You will still be able to use it to work, but I'll need to show you some steps, right, that you need to take. So let us assume that, okay, you see, let me go and install this on using the GUI, right? I want to come here and say, manage Jenkins. I want to install Maven using the GUI, just as some people might have done, okay? I'll go to global tool configuration. Okay, this is how I'll do it. Scroll to the bottom. I see Maven installations. I click add Maven. Okay, I look at the versions available. The most recent version is what I want. I select that 3.8.6. Okay, then I come here, I say Maven, right? 3.8.6. Okay, I do that, Maven 3.8.6, and I come down here, right? You see, and I apply and save. So what I've done now is to bring Maven into my install Maven 3.8.6. Okay, so what happens when I do this? Okay, let's say, for example, I have Maven 3.8.6 and I have the other Maven I have installed. Does that change anything, right? Let's see what we have here. Okay, so we can just establish some points. Okay, so we want to go back to dashboard. Okay, this is the project we worked on. Okay, anyway, let's confirm something. Okay, DP, just want to confirm the deployment. Okay, so it worked. Okay, so this the deployment DP, right? So let's go back to what we're trying to do. Okay, so right now, if I run mvn clean or whatever I run, mvn clean, okay, let's see mvn -v -v. What does it tell me? It tells me I have Maven 3.5.4. So what it still means is that when I run anything here, right, I'm still running with Maven 3.5.4, not the 3.8.6 that I've installed, right? If I uninstall Maven right now, let's say I want to uninstall Maven. Let's uninstall Maven. Sudo yum remove Maven. Okay, sudo yum remove Maven -y. So I've uninstalled Maven. So let's see what we get. Okay, so I come here, I say mvn clean, right? That I've been doing all along. It says no such file or directory, right? It's like saying mvn -v tells me no such file or directory because I've installed, right? I've uninstalled it. Version, no such file or directory. Okay, so what does this mean? What this means is that, okay, let's even check something. Let's see what we set up here, right? Deployment was successful. Okay, today at 1:52, that's 5 minutes ago. Let's see the message we have here. Deployment is successful because we had it configured, right? So let's see. Deployment is successful. That's 1:52. That's 6 minutes ago. So I sit down. Okay, cheers, guys. What an amazing job you've done. Okay, you see, this is what we configured the other time, just to show you that everything worked. Okay, now that we've done this, okay, so let's see what happens. If we come back here, Jenkins, okay, remember we deployed this, it was a success, right? So let's see what happens when we build again. You see, this will fail, okay? Because we've uninstalled Maven, right? So we try to do a build. Oh, only the clone works, every other thing failed, right? Why did we have this? The reason why we have this is that we've uninstalled Git. But do we still have Git? Yes, we installed 3.8.6, but where is it? We can't see it, right? So what do we do in this situation? If we had run it, right? Okay, there's something we've done now. We've uninstalled. okay? And we tried to do this run, and we saw a fail. But if we had run it, while we still add the 3.8.6 and the 3.5.4, whatever it was we had when we started using sudo yum, right? We still have been successful with the build, because the system will naturally choose what you use sudo yum install to do, okay? So it will ignore the other one, just as it has ignored it now, right? So what do we do in a situation like this? When you do a build following everything we've done, and it was a failure, so you want to do something, right? So what do you want to do? Let's see. If you come here and say sudo find, right? I want to see whether there's Maven in the system. Sudo find, want to find within root. What are we looking for? A name called MVN, right? Okay, it tells us that there's MVN here. Can you see? 3.8.6. So there's MVN here, which can run, okay? So to run, what do? We do this, right? Copy that. We can say sudo, right? sh, right? Then we do mvn clean, right? You see what we get, okay? You see? It shows that there's Maven, but the location is not where it can readily run, right? So now that we have this, we've established this, so what do? Okay? We can come back here to our command, we can come back here. Okay, let's come back here and try to, let's try to configure, right? We want to configure, okay, let's configure this. So to configure this, what do we need to do? Come before stages, in between any agent, any and stages, we want to come here and introduce something. We can call this, there's the tools, right? We want to select tools. Can say tools, okay? What am I doing? Okay, can select tools, okay, tools, okay, on say tools, remember, open your curly bracket and close it, always, okay? So we enter, we find ourselves in between, okay? So what tools have we used? Maven, okay? The Maven we used is what? Maven 3.8.6, okay? Maven 3.8.6, right? The same way you named it. Remember we named it Maven 3.8.6. If you had named it 3.8.x, okay, you could have named it 3.8.x over there when you were creating it, right? Could have named it 3.8.x, so you should state it as you named it, okay? So 3.8.6 is what we called it, right? If you named it Mav, or whatever, this is a nickname you gave it, you should state it as that, okay? So we are stating it as Maven 3.8.6, okay? Maven 3.8.6, that was the name we gave it, okay? So once we do this, okay, we want to click on apply, okay, then we save, okay? So remember, when we had agents, if we were using a particular agent, we use label, then space, we open single quotes and specify, right? So also when we use tool, we specify the tool, then we specify the name we've given it, okay? So now that we've done this, we want to do something else, right? So this has taken care of so many things here, right? But something is still missing. When you want to upload to Nexus, we need to modify the server tag of the form of the settings.xml, right? So we want to go there and modify it, right? So the settings.xml. So let's search for settings.xml, sudo find name, okay, sudo find name settings.xml, want to see where it is. So I can go modify it, settings.xml, okay. So when we search settings.xml, what do we see? We see this is the only settings.xml we have now. The other one that we modified earlier that related to the default has been deleted, has been uninstalled, okay? When we uninstalled, it's been deleted, okay? So we want to come here and sudo, right? We want to vi into that settings.xml so that we can modify the server's tag, okay? So we'll scroll down until we get to the server's tag, okay? We are the server's tag now. Server's tag ends here, but there's a closure to the comment somewhere here, okay? So it would have been more interesting if we use the Vim, okay? But I didn't install Vim. So we copy this part, right? And we click I to insert, then find our way somewhere after this comment, but before the closing of servers, okay? So we'll find ourselves in between, right? We don't want to fall in between the comments and we don't want to fall outside the server's tag, okay? So we'll find ourselves here, then we'll come up here to ID. We want to change this to Nexus, right? Because the pom.xml does not have any authentication. If we run this, right? If we run it, Nexus, we'll say this is Nexus, and this is username, right? Admin. Password down here, we can say admin123, okay, right? Admin 123, okay? So let's see what happens. Let's assume we didn't do this, right? And let's say we want to do a build, although we know we'll do it, but let's explore to see what will happen if we do not do the right thing, okay? So we'll come here and say we are doing a build, okay? If we do this build, let's see what will happen. Let me reduce the size so we can see at a glance what's happening. Okay, I do a build. Clone is done. Build is done. Code quality analysis should be done. But what happens? What happens after that? Backing up artifacts. I'm expecting a message unauthorized. Okay, you see, there's a fail here, then fail subsequently. Okay, so because we didn't set up, there's authentication issue, right? If you click on log, you see, you couldn't deploy. It says, let's see the error, MVN deploy, right? You see, there's going to be authentication issue. So unable to authenticate. Okay, where is it? It says 401 unauthorized. 401 unauthorized, okay? There is no authentication. There's no way the thing can log into Nexus, okay? So now we've established that and we knew we were expecting this, okay? But let's also confirm the message we got, right? You can see failed deployment. You see the message we set up? It shows it's failed, deployment failed. Unfortunately, guys, you will need to clock in more time to make this a success, as you always do, okay? So that shows a failed deployment, okay? So now, let's go back and complete what we started, okay? So we've set up the Nexus admin, Nexus ID, the username and the password. So once we save this, when we will deploy to have a successful build. So let's come back here. Let's come back to DP, okay? So let's do a build. This time around, we've done everything we should, and we are hoping that we'll get a successful build. Okay, so let's authorize. Let's authorize. Proceed, okay. So let's check our message. You can see this deployment is successful, okay? So that is it. So we've had a successful deployment. So what else do you want to confirm? Let's just confirm here. That's still DP, right? Refresh. So we still have a success, okay? So that's about all. I believe we've covered all ends. There might be other issues that we've not looked at, but as time goes on, I'll be able to, if anything comes up, we can look at that during our troubleshooting sessions. Thank you. See you in the next session. Bye for now.